This is the regular meeting of the Shade Tree Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being presented through the Zoom meeting platform. Public participation for this June 1st, 2022 Shade Tree Commission meeting is available by call-in phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until the portion for public questions, comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the quote raise hand button, and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice that this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on Jan 28th, 2022, posted on the borough website, bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Shade Tree Commission Secretary is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting. Roll call, Christy, if you would.
Pagani?
Here.
Diagati?
Present.
D'Angelo? Absent. Hoey?
Here.
Larson? Absent. McCabe? He said he would be in. Paolo?
Here.
Reed?
Here.
Sullivan?
Here.
Okay, and the councilwomen perhaps are still in the special meeting. That's still going on.
What was that one all about?
Floodplain
Yeah.
and facilities.
Riveting stuff, right?
Mhm.
Well, hopefully they can join. If you would all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of
flag
the United
to the
States of
United States
America,
of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
which
which
stands
stands
one nation under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty,
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
That was good. That was really good, everyone. A lot of that, like, normally that is that is so choppy sometimes. That was great. Well done. This is already a successful meeting. I'm thrilled. Assuming everybody had a chance to look at the prior meeting minutes, scrutinize them, absorb them, approve them. Anybody have any objections to that? All right, let's all in favor. What's that?
I was making a motion to approve.
Seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, jumping right in. Project updates. Green Team. Andrea, love where you live day. Fantastic. You're muted. If you yell at it, I can't hear it. Yeah, okay. It's not working. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, my compliments to the Green Team. I thought it was a really well-run, robust event at Bicentennial Hall. I think that I think what I would do differently next year from the Shade Tree perspective is I think we should have two people at the booth at all times, and I think that would just allow us to, engage more, more in like a team setting. And then, I think it was a really good opportunity to solicit donations for the Shade Tree Trust. Just, lesson that I learned for next year is that maybe we have like a donations jar, because I know that we did learn that the Shade Tree Commission is one of the few boards or commissions in town that can actually accept direct donations. The only thing you have to do is give a receipt and make sure that is, I believe, deposited within 48 hours. We got one $5 donation. So thank you to the family that contributed. It was a bit of a shakedown on my part, and I do feel bad about it a little bit, but thank you very much. You know who you are. But next year I do think, like, if we are a little bit more public about, look, we're, we could say things like, we got a lot of momentum on the Shade Tree Commission here, and, we're looking to put more trees in the ground, partner with some of the other boards and natural areas and things like that. And all the money that goes into the Shade Tree Trust can be used to plant throughout town, private or public space. So it'll be a good story to tell if we do Love Where You Live next year. And I know that the sapling giveaway was great. seedling. Oh, there's Chris McCabe. Okay. We gave away, I think, probably 20 of the 30, and then the Fairhaven Garden Club took the last 10 or so. And I know they're in good hands with them. So that's that. I also special thanks to Bonnie Torsivia, who is continually one of the best advocates for the trees in town, with all of some of the visual display work that she had made, leaf examples and the things that kind of educate people about specific types of trees. I thought a really well organized event. Anybody else have any comments, thoughts, or feedback?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great event.
It was great. I learned a lot, actually.
I now know how to
Right
measure a
next
tree
to
height, right?
To the forester, and I learned a lot.
Yeah.
There was someone in town that lives on 3rd Street that was also hoping for any seedlings, or because he'd like to plant. He backs to the woods, going to Fairhaven Fields, and he was really worried about the invasives and all the stuff that's taking over back there, and he wanted to know if he could plant alongside the back of his property, or even add trees to town property.
So interesting. So I literally in the last couple of days, I caught wind of this project. There is a young gal named Zoe Arhonic, who is an Eagle Scout candidate in town. She has been working on an Eagle Scout project on that to clear the invasives, with the help of Mark Olson and the Fairhaven Natural Area team. Clear the invasive and plant invasives that are along the path from 3rd Street to Fairhaven Fields. And apparently, they've made quite a bit of progress with her Eagle project. They're actually they're asking for tree adopters. They've planted 16 shade trees, maples and oaks, and I think they have 12 of those 16 trees are spoken for. Many folks like Mayor Halper and Councilman Rodriguez and myself are already involved. And I think that there are 4 available for anybody who's listening to be kind of claimed. Basically, you effectively purchase the tree on behalf of, you privately purchase the tree, but it is planted in the town space. You are then obligated, or you're encouraged to, I think it's 6 gallons of water a week. The DPW cannot get a truck back there, but they continue to try to find creative solutions. And some of the people that live there, have offered to help, fill up with water and things like that. And so there's, Leah, you mentioned somebody on 3rd Street. I wonder if it's somebody who might be connected to this particular Eagle Scout project, group. And so that might be a way for them to pitch in and plant. But yeah, it's really interesting because in the 3 years being on the Shade Tree Commission, that the whole concept of clearing out the invasives on the path from 3rd Street to Fairhaven, it's come up a lot, and it never really had a home. You know what I mean? And so I was so thrilled to hear that an Eagle Scout project came up where somebody was able to just take this off the town's plate and try to find a solution for it. And it seems like they have. So I have yet to actually go see it. I just got off the phone with Mark Olson about this in the last half an hour. So I'll do that in the next couple of days. But it's I think it's a start in an area that needed some attention. And the added benefit is that we're putting in some shade trees that are waist high at this point, but who knows what they'll be in 50 years, right? So but anyway, yeah, so Leah, is there a follow-up there, you think, for the person on 3rd Street?
Well, I said I'd let him know if we had any extras, and he was going to follow us on Instagram so that I could have his information. I tried to get him that way.
You'll follow us on social media,
Follow
Shakedown.
us on social media and we can DM you a response. But he seemed to have a vested interest just because, his proximity, and he wanted to plant himself. So,
Good. Maybe he doesn't need to adopt a tree. Maybe we could just kind of point him in the right direction of where we're sourcing our trees, and he can add a 17th or an 18th tree depending on
Yes, I mean he did take at least one of the right.
The seedlings are he's already got the all the firepower he needs. Great.
What was the conclusion with that? Mark had left me a message earlier today, so I didn't know. I assumed there was some weeds to pull. Since that's more my expertise.
So my understanding is that he has already done a lot of the work, and 16 trees have already been planted in an area where they've cleared invasives. And it seems like over the last 6 months or a year, he's put a lot of time and effort into cleaning that up. What started kind of like his own private project, where he just put 2 trees in the ground, turned into participation from the Scouts. And so now I think, and what I want to do, Chris, is get back there and take a look at it with my own eyes, because my understanding from Mark is that a lot of the invasive has already been cleared, but I don't know what size of, and like what percentage of the project is complete, what percentage of the invasive area where all the poison ivy had grown in has been taken out. And I kind of need to go take a look to understand that more, but
it was pretty extensive. I mean, depending on how far back you go, it would be amazing if they had put a dent in it. It was, I mean, it's tough. It's long. It's well entrenched, and it's, that pole saw I used at the natural area worked well, but then it's just manually pulling this stuff down and hoping it's not, all poison ivy.
I think, I've been back there since he started this project, and I think mainly what he's doing is clearing just enough of an area to plant the tree, and then kind of putting, something around it to protect it from the deer. But it's still, there's, like Chris was saying, it's still a lot of clearing to do. So, he was just trying to get something going. I think he was making his rounds, talking to anybody that would listen to him today. So, but yeah, definitely go take a look, but it's more about like just clearing a spot to get the trees going.
Yeah, it seems like they're well on their way for that with 16 trees in the ground already. So, but yeah, I encourage everybody to go take a look. And if anybody needs contact information for Mark or for young Zoe, happy to pass that along. But
Is that word contact, Dave? Mark, as a starting point.
You want Mark information? No problem.
I have it. I was just curious. Is that the right person? Is Mark?
Yeah, start. Yeah,
okay,
awesome. Mark is the right. Yes, Mark is the right person to throw it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Tracy, you had a role prominently featured at the Love Where You Live Day. Any feedback or any takeaways that you wanted to share?
That should be an annual tradition. I just thought it felt wonderful. It was a really great community event. I just think it kind of was the heart of the community all in one place. I really liked that it was at Bicentennial Hall, which has been sort of underutilized, underappreciated maybe. Thought it was, I think it resonated for me. It was sort of a special day on the calendar. I think it should be an annual event.
I agree. I can't imagine that we would, skip it next year, right? If the momentum the green team has, I think they would absolutely already have it booked, I bet.
I will say, I did this thing, I maybe want to formalize a little bit. I did a sacred places mapping thing, very informal, but even really informally, it was very telling. Couple of highlights. Fairwinds, the Fairhaven Fields, and believe it or not, at the end of Hants, Pirate Beach, they didn't call it Cove, Pirate Beach, over and over again. The kids pointed to this.
They call that Pirate Beach at the end of Hants? One
kid called it Pirate Beach, and then over and over again, I would say, "You mean Pirate Beach?" They, yeah. Anyway, that was just a little takeaway, but there's meaning in all these places around Fairhaven. And
that's great. Yeah.
Kids are really great at harvesting the meaning for us if we're listening.
Leah, did you call it Pirate Beach when growing up in this neighborhood? You're like, that's not the name.
Leah likes to walk down to the dock. Yeah, a lot of people like walking down to the Fairhaven dock. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Andrea, did your audio work here again, or yeah,
Yep,
there you
I'm
go.
back up. I had to restart. Apologies for that.
No problem. Anything you wanted to share about the Love Where You Live event?
No, I think just echoing what's already been said, I thought it was a fantastic event. I thought, it was just so good to see so many different, whether it's teams such as us represented, but also vendors, and weather held out, thankfully. But it was really, it was excellent. I really don't have anything other to say than I hope they do it again, and I hope we contribute in the same way, but I thought it was a fantastic day.
I'll add one more thing. I had a really nice conversation with the lady behind the desk at the Historic Commission booth. The Historic Commission used to, or maybe they still do, but I just wasn't aware. I mean, they handed out these printed walking tours of Fairhaven if you wanted it, where it's kind of a self-guided thing where you'd go around the historic district and look at the houses. And I actually did. I took one of them and I drove around there and driving tour. But I just didn't really. I guess I don't think I really thought about what the Historic Commission did. So it was, probably pretty good publicity for all involved. Or at least just one eye-opening thing after the other for me. But yeah, good event, and looking forward to seeing that on the calendar again next year.
May I
Anyone?
just let you know, Pat Drummond is actually named the town historian. And she is the keeper of a great deal of archival information, all of which sort of needs a home ultimately. And Pat will also need to find someone to pick up where she will be leaving off. And I just want to share that with as many people as I can, because her role is really critical for Fairhaven, and she's done such an amazing job as a steward for our history. And, she would tell you herself, like, one day there needs to be someone else. So talk amongst yourselves and your friends, and maybe someone who you think would be suited to that, and they could work with Pat for a while until.
Well, I'm just looking at shelf
I'm
space.
I'm looking at
behind
Leah.
people on
I
the
nominate
Zoom.
Leah.
Hold
you
up,
know,
fingers.
Peter's got too many books, it's read. But I'm looking right at Kristen. I see a nice spot. Like
I'm 4 years in. I have a lot to learn. I think I nominate my counterparty, Leah Bagani. I think she'd be excellent. Anyone want to second that?
I might be interested.
All right,
just-
guys. Well, in the
go
interest of
forward.
keeping this moving, this was I thought it was a great event. Any further comments on the green team, or can we move on?
Can I just mention the Green Team submitted their Sustainable Jersey app a couple of weeks ago, about 10 days ago, and because of all the accreditation work we worked on and the other tree maintenance type plans that I had to put together for the Nj Ucf applications, we were able to get like 30 to 40 additional points for the application of Sustainable Jersey.
Great.
So it's good to know that a lot of it goes hand in hand, and I'm glad that we're able to do that.
So is it 225? Is that the total points, Christy?
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, I think when I checked, I got an email that it was confirmed. I think that was the number.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're looking to get to closer to 350, but
We have till
on
August.
your way. On your way.
That's really great. Thank you for the update there. All right, social media. Anything from the social media universe?
Mhm.
Hi. So we have 115 followers on Instagram now. We posted some stuff, obviously, for Love Where You Live and preceding it, during it. I took some video at Love Where You Live with someone from the Big Trees hunt, sort of telling us how to measure trees. It was really interesting. I know you were there, Dave and Peter. And so I just need to edit that. And they kind of asked me not to, they were kind of shy about being on video. So maybe I'll do some graphics to do it. It takes time. But it was really,
I think there is, sorry to interrupt. I think there actually, if you go to that Big Tree Hunt website, there might also be like actually be YouTube video on how to do it already, right?
There
Like already
there
kind of,
is a YouTube video. I just wanted, it's kind of hard to like post something and then direct someone to another. I guess I could do like, there is a way to do it. It's just not as direct and it's not going to be like on our own social media. I guess we could do it on Facebook. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting how they explained it. But I would edit it or make a graphic or sort of explaining it. But yes, I do know what you're talking about. It is a YouTube video. And I can think about it a little more.
yeah. And, you know, just whatever helps get the kind of the methodology out there, I guess. I mean, I can understand if his name was Joe Bennett, right? He was a nice guy.
Yeah, it was really nice and so passionate. Like everyone was so passionate about everything that they were there for, and it was very inspiring, really.
I introduced Bill Brooks and Joe, and they had this like very like in like heavy tree conversation. I was like I'm all for it, guys, but I gotta take a step back and see if I can shake down this other guy for $5 over here. I was like, you two guys are like up, like way up here in the canopy. It was awesome.
If anyone has any content that they'd like or want to suggest, that would be great, because Kristen and I, you know, are always hungry for ideas. Someone mentioned something in our last meeting about deer resistant trees, or what was it called, where they rub the tree trunk? I need to
Oh yeah.
New trees.
Yeah, the new trees, right? They
yeah, protecting new trees, like that was
destroy the tree.
yeah, protecting new trees. I didn't know that, so I feel like that would be useful information to share. I feel like a lot of us wouldn't know that in town. But anyways, any ideas would be really appreciated.
Good, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about social media? All right, moving on. Jill, tree inventory.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that there's been a little more progress this month. I'm expecting my first real proposal, I would say, in the next like 3 to 4 days. And then from that, you know, I have a few more that I'm expecting to roll in, I would say over the next couple of weeks. So what happened is I kind of took that document that I was working on, sent it back out to everybody I was talking to, and then had follow-up conversations. They found it to be useful with the more well-defined areas that we're looking to count the trees in, and, you know, our centerline road information, and, you know, what our goals from the Shade Tree Commission's perspective are in terms of like engaging with volunteers in order to, you know, help with granting. So yeah, so I'm hoping, you know, I think I noticed that we don't have any meetings until September, but I'm going to have to be probably, I guess, maybe reaching out to Tracy and Mulaney to kind of involve you guys once we have some concrete numbers to look at. And then as there's kind of a 2 portion to this, where there'll be one portion of like what it would cost to actually hire the experts to do the tree inventory, and then the second being the software involved. So as we get closer to deciding what we want to do there, anybody that would be interested in participating in a demo of what the software would look like, I could set that up. But at that point, I need to involve the people that would be using the software from, you know, the town, like Nick and stuff like that. So that's where we are. And happy to tell you, or to just reach out when we actually start having some concrete numbers. So that's where we are.
And every month we say it. I know this was a particularly heavy lift, so thank you very much for doing that one. I know it was not on the surface, it seemed nice and easy, but then I know that you kept peeling back layers of the onion. So thank you very much for doing that.
Sure. Yep.
Dave, can I ask Jill a quick question?
Yeah.
Jill, did when you were scoping this work, forgive me, I know I read it, but did you separate street trees or trees in a right of way, municipal right of way from public properties where we have, forested areas of trees?
Yes, I think
Okay.
like the difference between there's a difference between a street tree and a tree in the natural area. So we wouldn't specifically be counting a truly forested area like the natural area or the bird sanctuary, but something like McCarter Park, we would count. And you would count maybe the trees along the edge of Fairhaven Fields, for example, but not the pathway in. So yeah, so public parks and facilities like trees at Borough Hall and stuff like that, all that would be included, and anything along the streets in the right of way.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Just because you brought it up, Christy, is that right? We don't have another meeting until September.
Yes, that's what was voted on by the commission, to take July and August off of this year, back in late 2021.
I remember
when we were developing the borough calendar.
I do remember voting to take. I don't remember it being 2 straight meetings off though. I'm
That's
sure
the
I'm
way
wrong.
the calendar was printed. You can change it. We can renotice things.
Yeah, let me
that was-
think about that. I feel like I'm not opposed to taking August off, but I don't recall it being 2 straight meetings canceled. I thought we were. I remember in my own mind. I remember 1. Does anybody else recall this? Because I am not specifically remembering. Because I know that
We talked maybe
I
one
recall
in
taking
December or January and then one in the summer, but I don't know.
I think we usually take July off too, because it's just hectic with the holidays and people traveling and stuff.
yeah. Okay, that's
I
ringing a bell.
remember it being the summer, yeah. But I mean, that could change. I think we had a problem with attendance last summer.
I think you're right. Yeah, and now it's coming to, like, I think July, like the first week of July is poorly attended because people are out. And then I think, what was it? Yeah, it
August
was
is like a lot of
attended in August
vacationers.
as well. Yeah.
It's
Okay,
customary for August to go, a lot of committees and commissions don't do August, but you guys are the first week of, you're the first Wednesday of the month. So you're always going to be in the 4th of July holiday. So you get rolled. Doesn't mean you need another time in July. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, let me ask, I'll put it out to the group, guys. I feel like we have a lot of things going, right? There's a lot of different projects that are happening. And I think that's a real testament to the dedication of this group. I can understand not doing July 6th, but would people want to do a July 13th? Like, do you think that it's worth? I just feel like 2 months.
Environmental club, environmental commission meeting. I'd have to check the borough calendar on availability. That's environmental commission. Like each commission has like their own like
slot. Yeah.
Second Wednesday of the month, third Wednesday of the month, second Tuesday of the month.
I know in 17 we did an August meeting. I don't see a July. I'm just going through old notes to see.
All right. Well, look, I'll put it to you guys. I mean,
the calendar here if you would like me to check any particular dates.
I actually have one right here too. I own. Well, guys, look. I'll put it to a vote. All in favor of taking both July and August off, please raise your hand.
I don't really have an opinion. I don't care.
All in favor of finding a meeting date in either July or August to continue the momentum that we have.
Sure.
All right, so that's the majority. Christy, let's you and I talk offline, and we'll we'll find something to squeeze it in. Okay. Does that work for everybody?
I think it makes sense.
Honestly, August is a little easier for me than
I
July.
was gonna say that too. I would think August would be easier.
All right, we'll err on the side of August if that's okay.
Do you want to take like vacations from everybody? So we can make sure you get quorum if we're gonna have this? I mean, not to
Yes,
be
yeah.
difficult, but
No, that's fair.
yeah.
Let's tell you what, Christy, would you mind helping me coordinate that? We don't have to do it right in this.
Yeah,
meeting.
sure. I'll send an email and you
Thank you.
guys
Okay.
respond to me and I'll get it together.
Yeah, not reply all. Remember, respond directly to Christy. All right, great. Moving things along here. Plaque at the Normandy Park. I know that there was just a question of cost, right?
Yep, and I have a meeting tomorrow at 1 p.m. at the store to finalize it all. I took pictures of the one that's already at the existing park, just so we keep it consistent. And she did tell me after Friday, prices go up 6%. So from my perspective, I will have the exact number tomorrow to confirm, Christy, to you. But my question is, I'm not clear on where the funding is coming from, whether it's, I don't know how that works.
Well, I will say that the next line item is the Shade Tree Trust balance. And I would want to confirm, Christy, with you and Teresa and Nancy, that this would be the appropriate, source of funds. But that's there's $6,200 and change in the Shade Tree Trust. And so.
And the range is between 500 to 600 is the range of what, depending on, the specifications, but that's the range.
I think I'd like to make a motion to pay for the Normandy plaque from the Shade Tree Trust balance. I think somebody second that.
I'll second it.
Chris seconded it. All in favor?
And just to note, I did confirm with Wendy Murphy, who was the one who nominated it, that she was comfortable with what we proposed to put on it. I wanted to keep it simple, but I also wanted her input, and she confirmed back. So from my perspective, everyone's kind of dotted the i's and crossed the t's there.
Great. Just to finish the vote, anyone opposed? That's great. Christy, if we're allowed to make that purchase out of the Shade Tree Trust balance, we have a approved motion here.
Well, yeah, I'll put you on an email with Nancy and Teresa tomorrow so we can confirm that. And
Okay.
what we'll need from you, Andrea, is the quote to get that process started.
Yep, so I'll send it to you after my 1 p.m. So sometime tomorrow afternoon, I'll send you the exact number.
Great.
Christy would just copy me so I can monitor.
Sure.
Thanks.
So yeah, like I said, just moving to the next line item, 6257 in the Shade Tree Trust balance. I'm gonna try to keep that stat brought. I'm gonna make sure that we have that stat every month so that we know what our budget is. I'm working with, and just to kind of jump ahead a little bit. Actually, no, next line item, 2021 tree giveaway from Hans. I've been in, I think this has been an interesting exercise to try to figure out if we're going to plant trees on private property through something like a tree giveaway contest. We found out that we can't do that from the regular shade tree budget. It needs to come from the Shade Tree Trust because of something to do with, like, you can't use those public funds of the shade tree budget rather, for private residence plantings, but you could use the Shade Tree Trust balance because they're donations and we could spend that money as we see fit. At least that's the way that I understand it. But that said, I'm guessing, just ballpark in my head, we're probably going to end up spending probably, somewhere around $1,000 to put 2 trees on the property, the homeowner that won the tree giveaway last year. Working with town and Nancy to try to figure out which vendors are already approved, and if we have to do some sort of like competitive bidding process. I'm not really sure, but I'm working through that. This has been as much a learning exercise as has been a tree giveaway exercise. So, and the homeowner understands that we're slow because we're learning. Jill, I think you know a lot about this as far as the way that money can be spent and competitive bids and whatnot, but anything that I missed there, I'd happy to take anybody's feedback on that.
I think the trigger is $6,500.
Where you need a competitive process
Yeah,
for it.
we won't need to go out to bid for that installation that you just described.
Okay. I still would feel better with 2. But I'll
You can get quotes, but you don't have to put it out for a competitive bid.
got it.
It's not
Okay.
an open bidding process. You're just getting a couple quotes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. There would be kind of the whole more formal like request for, like an RFQ type of situation, but I will. Okay. Good to know. The balance of that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the balance of that, obviously, maybe we buy a couple more Kwanzan cherries to put down Fairhaven Road. I know that's Peter did a lot of work on that, so I want to try to complete more of that in Fairhaven Road.
You were on Hance and so I don't know if you got this email, and Christy, it came kind of late. Did the email from CME, the tree expert, Shari, did that get circulated to Dave in the commission yet?
I didn't see anything from Sherry today.
Okay.
With her evaluation with Rich Gardella. I did receive that, yes. I didn't know if that was to be
It came very
distributed
last
or.
minute. It was, I was trying to get it in time for you guys to have it tonight, and I sent it, but I'm sure you had a million things to do. Just because it's in your email doesn't mean you have it for the agenda tonight, but you can bring it up next meeting. But there's Harding. So basically all the street trees, and Jill, this goes back to my question, are, the jurisdiction of the Shade Tree Commission. And obviously Bill is an advisor for the commission, and so is Shari. She's with CME. And she was hired to do an assessment of trees on Harding, Hance, and Cooney. And that report is now prepared in writing, and for your, you can digest this report now. But because it's street trees, I wanted to kind of bring forth a conversation about, and maybe this is already on your minds, I'm not sure, but the idea of kind of like what you're doing on Fairhaven Road with the Kwanzan trees, but each street doesn't necessarily have one species of trees, but in certain instances that is true, sort of on Buttonwood and on Fairhaven. So but in the case of a lot of neighborhoods, there's a mix of trees. Hance Road and Cooney, according to this report, are going to lose some trees. So I wanted to bring it to your attention to say, maybe that's something to think about as a commission, a street tree replacement program.
Yeah, agreed. I think that we aspire to projects like that where we know, like, I actually think a lot about Hance, kind of as you get closer to Knollwood, there was all those trees that had to come down because I think it was emerald ash borer or one of the other blights, the bacterial leaf scorch maybe, but there was 4 or 6 feature canopy trees that came down because they were going to be a problem in 2 years. And so I would love to, as a shade tree commission, have a replenishment kind of like program or a project, that like in an ongoing way identifies where we can replace. And I think that by starting this tree giveaway process last year, we wanted to take the first steps into actually doing stuff like that. And so, recognizing that in the past, like it really was just more about, I don't know, like kind of playing defense when it came to tree, hazard trees and things like that. And so, no, I think the Kwanzan Cherry project is a really good example of us like trying to do things like that. And like I would love that Shade Tree Trust balance to be, $60,000, so we could do all these things that we want. So, but that's that's gonna take a lot of $5 donations to get us there.
Well, and my last, and then I'll let your meeting go. But given that you are the only commission that can receive contributions, just of note, really, it seems that could be an interesting way to galvanize the public's interest in a particular neighborhood. So if you say, for example, had a plan for a street tree replacement for a particular neighborhood, a particular segment of the road, or a street is somewhere, and you certainly have the experts to turn to, be it Sherry, be it Bill Brooks, or a landscape architect who I'm sure is on staff somewhere, that could be a targeted kind of call out. I know I'd chip in for street trees on Hance. I'm not on Hance, but I'm in that neighborhood and I enjoy that walk. So it's food for thought.
So let's Christy, if you wouldn't mind putting a new agenda item in, or an agenda, a project line item for next meeting, whenever meeting that is. Let's start thinking about prioritizing, like if we could kind of think of like street tree projects, you know, based on street or corner or neighborhood or something like that. In advance of trying to raise funds for projects, let's start thinking about what those projects might be. I think the Kwanzan cherry tree thing on Fairhaven Road might be the first lineup, and then maybe as this shade tree commission continues to discuss this, we can have a list of 3 or 5 or 10 projects that we want to pursue, which would then allow us to maybe kind of justify and ask a financial ask from townsfolk, whether that's, you know, putting our hand out around the community appeal, or like kind of a targeted like fundraising effort. You know,
Yeah.
I do know of one, you know, I believe it was after, you know, tragic events of 9/11, that one of the residents in the town gave, I think $100,000 into the Shade Tree Trust as a gift for, you know, for tree replacement. And over the years that slowly but surely dwindled, and now we are down to $6,000. And so that doesn't say there isn't somebody who wouldn't want to be a benefactor to the town that way again, but we just need to kind of publicly ask for that, I guess. But look, if we can show projects that we're going to pursue, I think that's the first step. So let's start organizing ideas about street tree replacement projects. I'll take a look at what you sent as far as what Sherry put together. And I think Hance is a good example of a place that needs tree replacements. So, and I'm sure all of the ones that she points out are valid. So.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
While we're on the trust, we're jumping back to the trust, but is there can we get our hands on the document, like the organizing document, the Shade Tree Trust document, however that's described? I mean, or can we understand the do's and don'ts, what we can and can't do?
Do you want the ordinance that formed the Shade Tree Commission and its ability to receive donations, or something different?
Sure. Is that was the trust formed in that same?
No. Good point. Okay, so just the capacity to receive contributions, cash or property.
Yeah.
But I will work on that for you.
I'm happy to discuss it offline, but I'm very curious to understand the details of the trust. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'd be happy to sort that. And Christy, is there anything that you know off the top of your head? Because I have a search path. Well, why don't I call you? I'll call Christy. We'll figure it out together.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Good idea, guys. All right, we already talked about the 2021 tree giveaway. I owe that homeowner more of a timeline, and hopefully in the next month or two we'll have a little more concrete information for them. Peter, any updates on the Kwanzan cherry tree giveaway?
I'm sad to say we don't have a lot of forward motion this past month. We have the tree, just to remind everyone, we have the trees and the installation sourced. That was no small feat in itself, but we did get that done. So we have 2 vendors who are like ready to go. Councilwoman Neff and I were scheduled to walk Fairhaven Road on May 15th. We couldn't get our schedules together, and then the Gotti family promptly got COVID. So we got a little knocked out of whack. So basically what we need to do is we know how to get the trees and how to get them in the ground. What we need to do is just find places to put them. So I'm going to reconnect with Councilwoman Neff, but I've also, if anyone has any suggestions for or ideas as to locations for those trees, please let me know.
I think
Offer them to the families who had the fires on Fairhaven Road.
Mm-hmm.
that's a great
Nice
thought.
idea. Yeah.
In due time.
The ones that are gonna go on Fairhaven Road, near Ridge, those, because of the canopy, like, we've never figured or addressed anything with the problem with the existing ones with the canopy growing over them, right? So we would try to have to put the new ones as far away from the canopy as possible to give them some longevity.
Yeah, these specifically are meant to go in other locations along Fairhaven Road.
Okay.
Partly as a proof statement that they're going to grow and give people comfort when we do implement, when or if we do implement the replacement for the now I think aged or more than aged trees up by Ridge.
Aged but thriving.
But thriving, yeah. They make a nice picture.
They certainly do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that, Chris, it's a good, we did talk about this kind of a bit. I mean, it was, would have combined the natural areas kind of blessing of taking out, like kind of cutting a path of those kind of like less than desirable trees that are choking out the cherries from a light standpoint, but never really got to a proposal on that because I think it would be, I just don't see that going forward.
A very big project.
Yeah, I think we could, I think we aimed our sights on smaller wins, but also long-term, beneficial to the town. So,
Is that
Dave-
within our purview? I'm sorry.
what's that?
Is that in our purview to see if we could cull the trees along that path on the other side of the fence?
Yeah.
Well, that would be
Your
that
jurisdiction.
would be a proposal that would go through. I mean, and this could be something that we apply for a grant. I mean, I think it's one of those things where if we want to preserve those trees, we know what we need to do is that we need to get them a little bit more light. In order to do that, you have to, trim.
And it was more than that, like Bill Brooks pointed out, that it is also for fire safety reasons, having a little bit more of a.
Oh yeah,
space.
if you had space, you could get a truck in there if there was a problem ever in the natural area. That was right. I mean, and the idea was like, if there were, I forget what the number was, but if there was 30 trees there, you could do, you could have like a very scripted replacement program, where you're taking out the, every third one, putting a new young one in, and then, 3 years later, do the next one over, 3 years later, the next one, and then in like, 6 or 9 years, you have a totally new, like a totally new picturesque photo there, Peter, for generations to come, right? But I don't know. I was a little intimidated by that one. It was a little too big in scope, I thought, when it kind of like bled into the natural area. So it never really got further than the discussion points here.
May I ask a couple questions? So was it determined that the tree, it seems to me there's two things going on with that road, trees, and correct me where I'm wrong, but I think I hear you talking about the trees that are west of the cherry tree line, and then the fact that they grow over the trees, they're starving the trees of light that they need, right?
Correct.
And then was there any discussion at some point about the compacted soil and, how that might be advancing their age as well?
Yeah, we talked a lot about these, and we had like an in-person kind of like a publicly noticed event that allowed us to, hear from Bill Brooks in person and talk about the trees like as we're standing beneath them. Those trees are already well past any sort of expected life that they normally would have. So they are thriving there. And I think people point to the fact that that area used to be nursery years ago. So they were saying there's a quality to the soil, but there's also, runoff from the street there. There's probably compacted soil. There's exposed roots. There was a project proposed that was going to put a gravel path on the side of the fence that's there, that's closer to the trees. Then the pushback was that maybe the gravel should be on the other side of the fence, and then that would require clear cutting of some of those crappier trees. Forgive my language. But we never really got to a real concise thought as to what exactly needed to happen. There was like the light version, the medium version, and the heavy version, and I think the heavy version seemed like an awfully terribly heavy lift. So I you're asking good questions, Tracy. We talked about a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
But it just never, it just didn't seem like we could really get it off the ground without, what I was going to do is somehow just submit a shade tree commission kind of like letter of recommendation to the council, and with like, here's the light version, here's the medium version, here's the heavy version. And like,
Okay, good. That would be good. And what I want to add for your thinking is, are you guys familiar with worm castings, where they inject the soil with worm castings to aerate and fortify?
Mhm.
Okay, that does help extend the life. I'm not a tree expert. I know we do use that service on our properties, and it does help. So you could maybe run it by Bill Brooks or Shari, but it's something to consider. I think if we could get 5, 10, I mean, they are thriving. So if we can extend their life, we should consider. That is within your jurisdiction to make recommendations.
yeah. I think,
Line behind the cherry trees,
I'm sorry, say it.
including the trees that are in the natural area.
Yeah.
That are encroaching.
Okay, well, I'll put those thoughts to paper and, submit it to council for their thoughts. I guess it's, yeah, I'd be curious, where this goes. I mean, there is probably something that we should be doing, for those particular trees, and,
Well, we should think about doing, yeah.
Do we have any idea if that's gonna be curbed or sidewalked at any point? Because the sidewalk kind of abruptly ends right before it, and then it's pretty shocking how bad it is, like walking in that area with the roots and the hill and everything. I don't know if I'm nervous that we try to do something and then they're gonna go and put this curb in, dig it all out, and destroy a bunch of the roots and do all of that. I just don't know if it's in the planning for the future at all.
It's my understanding that any sidewalk improvements are on the other side, on the east side of Fairhaven Road. And it may eventually or should include a crosswalk, but that the pedestrian pathway on the west side of Fairhaven Road, where the cherry trees are, is the pathway underneath the trees. But I will double check that, but that's my understanding currently. I sit on the engineering and DPW committee, and there's, to my knowledge, there's no plan to put in a curb along that area or sidewalk. It would damage the trees
Yeah.
irreparably.
All right. Well, let us know if you hear anything, Tracy, as far as any sort of curb work that's going to go on there.
Will do.
All right. So I got a takeaway there as far as proposals to, light, medium, and heavy work proposals. So moving on to the tree ordinance review. Dr. Mike's not here. The last that I had been involved in was kind of like this working group that included the borough attorney, included Todd Leader from planning and zoning. What we have done is kind of boiled down our thoughts, and Greg Cannon has rewritten part of the ordinance as a proposed tree ordinance rewrite. And then it was sent to the attorneys for the zoning board, the attorney for the planning board, Shari at CME, and Bill Brooks as tree experts to get all 4 of their inputs. I just sent a note today to Greg Cannon asking for, what's the follow-up. Tracy, I believe you might have been on that. But I it's kind of gone cold. So I think that maybe we're waiting on the professionals to provide their input, or maybe we have 3 of the 4 professionals and we just need to light a fire under the 4th. So I'm sure it is not at all dead. It is just working its way through the system of professionals that need to, opine. So that's the only real update we have, is that there is no update, but we're nudging, and hopefully we'll have something at the next meeting. And again, that's going to get vetted from every possible perspective. That's going to go to council. Council is going to have their opinion. That's going to go publicly, for public discussion. Public's going to have their opinion. I believe, Tracy, it's got to go to the planning board because it's an update to the master plan. So it'll have another round of vetting there. You're going to have 2 sides of the town debating this, where you have, the ultra protect every tree side perspective, and you're going to have the, how dare you tell me what I can do in my backyard perspective, and everywhere in between. So it's going to be interesting, but I think it's going to be a really, I think there's going to be a lively discussion on this one. So we'll see.
When you think you're at a place, I'd love to, whether it's you or I don't know who you think, the tree permit process in town, the actual application that residents have to fill out to take down the trees. I think could use some fine tuning based on where you're going to go with the ordinance. It'd be great for you to review that either while you're working on it now, or, just because what's going to happen in real life in the process versus what's in ordinance should really go hand in hand, and make sure it's a workable document on both ends.
Yeah, that's a good point.
When you think it's a good time for that.
We're not there yet because we're waiting for, in particular, the legal impact, and then the perspectives of the tree experts. I think we are fortunate in that we have a lot of experienced eyes looking at this, and a lot of momentum in town, and a lot of advocates on council, mayor, and elsewhere as well. So I think that's a good point, Christy. The practical application of a new tree ordinance, will the permit process change at all? I know the numbers are going to change. So
Numbers are going to change, the procedure is going to change, the filing is going to change. And the appeals will come to the Shade Tree Commission, that'll change. Yeah, but all for the better. All for the better for Fairhaven. And maybe it's because I'm too close to it, but I think the way we do it now is not the right way. So I think it's going to be an improvement.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Any other questions on that?
I will make a phone call and do some follow-up, Dave, just to
Stoke the fire.
flip
Thank
the
you.
burger. Mhm.
No updates with Sportsman Field, although I did, Bill Brooks mentioned to me that today that there is emerald ash borer amongst all those ash trees. So anything that isn't currently dead will die, at least the ash trees. So that's a shame to hear. I don't know if that's extending all the way from 3rd to, what's the one parallel to 3rd, just on the north side of Sportsman Field.
No, that's not Foreman.
Jackson?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the site of the subdivision that Bill's referring to, or if there is further blight as you go kind of across Sportsman's Field, or south to north on the eastern border. But yeah, that's another thing that we got to keep an eye on. Big tree hunt. So it did come and go. I know it was a rainy day. I did not have a chance to do one myself. Was anyone aware of any? And before, I'll ask the public to participate later, but was there any shade tree commissioner involved in any big tree hunt on the designated date, which I think was May 1st or something like that? Was May 7th. We'll come back to that one for one of for the public to participate. we may have another plaque to give, I wonder. All right, moving on. Native species lists project. Peter, did you and Mr. Larson have any chance to put your heads together on this?
We did. I don't want to speak for Chris, but we spoke after, I think it was the April meeting. We looked at the Rumson and Red Bank lists and agreed to do some work on that and compare notes. So we've gotten no farther than that, but we've gotten started.
Great. Excellent. Cool. Looking forward to hearing more about that. Any questions, concerns on that? All right, moving on. Next, tomorrow. So the Nj Ucf Grant Discussion. There is a webinar tomorrow at 12 noon. Christy, I know that you mentioned you might attend. I'm also planning on attending, and I'm hoping to identify what our gaps are to meet the requirements for any sort of grant money. I know the thing, like there's basic things like I think you got to match like 25% of whatever the end up, the end amount is. But what else? Where else are we missing? Is it going to be a tree inventory? Is it going to be some other sort of some other plan that we don't have that I'm not aware of? So hopefully more on that tomorrow. Any questions? Anybody else want to join for the Nj Ucf Grant webinar?
Do you have the sign up for that? Maybe I can check and see what my schedule is.
Christy, can
I
you
can
pass
send
along?
you the link. I can send you a link. It's a webinar at noon, and you will get 1 CEU credit for attending, I believe. So if you do log in, I could just send the link to everyone. If you do, make sure you however they're deeming attendance, just keep that for your records.
Excellent.
Hey, that's the one that I went to last year, which is kind of how this whole tree inventory thing started. So just beware.
Has it been a full year? Jeez.
But yeah. But I think like I'm not going to be able to attend tomorrow, but any information about the matching on the grant that would fund the tree inventory, if you could pass that along to me, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, because I believe there's two types of grants, right? And one directly
Exactly.
applies to tree inventories, right? So
Yes.
I feel like we should be
Yep.
focusing on that because that's where, I mean, truth be told, that is a gap to kind of like, a standard that other towns have, right? A tree inventory. So we'll pay close attention to that. Thank you for the reminder there.
And Dave, is the community forestry management plan part of the reason that you're looking into the grant?
No.
That is a document, of course, we it's sort of like, it's more than just housekeeping. It's sort of like a foundational document that without one, you really can't apply for grants.
Right. So that's kind of what I mean. What gaps to requirements that like we have a CF community forestry management plan. You're right. It's kind of like a living document that gets updated every 5 years, I believe. And it is kind of one of those building blocks that allow you to apply for things like grants. Tree inventory is also one of those things that often applies to grant applications. And like we're trying as a, I think as a commission, we kind of identified that we didn't have all of these building blocks. And so we're trying to just make sure that we are addressing the needs that we have in order to be kind of a more sophisticated and a more eligible for grants, a commission that is more eligible for grants. But you bring that up, the CFMP, that there probably is an update needed there because I think we were during COVID rolled forward, and I want to say it was to 2024, but I don't.
You have 2 years. I remember I flagged a grant. This is going back a little while and sent it off to you with the idea that grant might help. I'm sorry, you guys, my dogs are resting. That grant might help to fund the update that was going to be necessary in a couple of years. And it really is probably a 2-year initiative by the time you secure the funding, some of which would have to perhaps come from the borough, hire the right group, and then update that document, submit it, get it endorsed and adopted. So it's probably an 18-month to 2-year initiative.
Okay, Christy, let's put CFMP update on the agenda. And I am asking for a volunteer of this group to own that one. Kristen Hoey, first hand up. Thank you very much.
Happy to help. No idea what I just signed up for, but I'll figure it out.
I'll help you.
Thanks, Tracy.
You see Jill's broken look after the tree.
I do.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
To be honest, that's totally related to this whole inventory thing. So we should talk because we can rope those things in together. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you in advance for all your collaboration on this, guys. Thank you. All right. Any other questions on the grant stuff? All right, updates from the Borough Tree Specialist. The JCP&L transmission line project was projected to start on June 22nd. After that, there is another project not scheduled for until 2025. That's the lower lines. So we have the high lines happening now on Ridge Road, and then 2025 is going to be the lower lines. And that, folks, is our project updates agenda complete. Any questions, comments, concerns on any of those? So for proposed new agenda items, we have street tree replacement projects, and we're going to try to prioritize them in advance of having extra zeros in our account. And then CFMP, Kristen is going to own that one. Thank you very much. I want to make a motion to go to public participation.
Dave?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just a council update for you guys.
Great.
Specifically on invasives. At the special meeting where there was a discussion about what were the priorities for maintenance and capital improvements, we entertained and supported funding. The amount has not been agreed upon, but definitely to commit to funds of some amount. $100,000 was the high level. Some people were down around 25,000, but in some amount to begin to address invasives. And to that end, I've been exploring grants because even $100,000 is not going to solve our invasives problem. And even if we had all the money in the world, we don't really have a plan or a strategy in how to truly eradicate the causes and to then have a long-term plan to address what we do have and then prevent future invasive spread. So while this is all still taking shape, what I wanted to propose and see if the commission would be open to forming a coalition and I don't actually yet understand how this is going to take place, but a coalition between the Shade Tree Commission, the Environmental Commission, and the natural area. There's a natural redundancy for each of these bodies, especially in the area of invasives. We have a financial pledge from the governing body, which is unique and opportune. We want to capitalize on it. And there are some grants out there. So if we can assemble a body of stakeholders, we can tell a better story for a grant application and leverage the monies that the governing body is willing to commit and hopefully come up with a plan and get more resources to address it, because it's going to cost a significant amount of money, some of which we need federal and state funds for. So to come back to my question, would you entertain a coalition, at least an initial meeting to talk about making a statement of some kind, or I'm just throwing this out there for a conversation. It seems to me we need to work together.
Agreed. And I think you've identified the right groups. I do want the Shade Tree to be part of that. Again, I'd ask for a volunteer. Does anybody want to be kind of the liaison to the invasives working group for?
I'll try to do it. I'm good at pulling the stuff, but not necessarily the grant side. But you know, I can, like, I know Mark is pretty gung ho about it.
Well, good. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Well, you know, if you can dig them and remove them, I think, I bet you can discuss it with real expertise. So thank you very much for volunteering.
Great. And then along those same lines, I want to carry an invitation from the natural area to the Shade Tree Commission on Saturday at 10 a.m. Maybe you already covered this. There's going to be a gentleman from Rutgers who's going to take us on a tour through the natural area and some talk about things like invasives. Personally, I'm going to go see if he's part of the cooperative extension of Rutgers, and maybe they can even help us develop a plan. That's my my initial action is formation of a coalition and find an author with the environmental science background we need to develop a plan to tackle it comprehensively. So more
Awesome.
on.
Tracy, is that, I'm sorry to interrupt. Tracy, is that something we should be advertising on social media? Are we looking for others to participate? What, Dave, did I just get 10 points?
That's
You
10
look like
points
you
for
just
that
gave the
one.
extra credit. All right,
Read
thank
my
you.
mind, exactly. So I was going to kick it to the social media team for public consumption. Yeah, it's the morning of Saturday, and you're right. It is a Rutgers expert. I'm sure there's more details available. But yeah,
Where exactly is it?
at the natural area.
That is
Tracy,
a good question. Let me just do a check and see if I can get you that information.
That would be great.
Mhm.
I think I have to check a different account. I'll find it and get it to Christy. Actually, I think it went out already. Hang on. I'll work on this while you guys go on with your meeting.
thank you. All right, guys, I want to make a motion to move to public participation. Do I have a second?
Here.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Great. If Christy, you want to run this, if there's
Sure, we have 2 public participants, 3. Okay, 2. All right. If you would like to speak, can you raise your hand? Okay, Bonnie, I see you. You unmute yourself.
Yeah, this isn't a typical meeting that you jump right in, right? I couldn't raise my hand on the
Yeah,
bottom,
it's a
right?
different subscription to this.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I joined in late. Thank you, Tracy, for reminding everybody about that tour. I was thinking you're going to have a Rutgers tree specialist at the natural area. You could take him over to the Kwanzaa cherry trees and ask his opinion of what he would suggest, explain all the details of these are old trees, but they're healthy, but we're worried about them. And what if we change how do we plant? Should we clear out, give them more sun, or leave them as they are because they're really happy? I don't know. I mean, it might be a great opportunity to get an expert to weigh in on your quandary there.
that's a great idea.
He's one. I mean, he's so nice. It's this Brian Schmidt, this kid. He's and I would think he's a great connection to Rutgers. Rutgers has so many resources to deal with everything, and he might be, Peter, when you were talking about getting the tree list from Rumsden and Little Silver, I'm not quite sure that every town knows the best list. I think that there is Jersey friendly. There's a lot of other resources that will give you the definite best list of native trees and good trees. And I mean, I'm not saying anything against them, but I would go to the experts.
Sure.
Yeah, point well taken.
Yeah. I mean, and what was I just had one? Oh, and the tree ordinance. So just better to have something to discuss than to do the whole, the old ask for instead of permission, ask for forgiveness. I mean, yeah, we want to make that permission thing a little bit more catch people there. I mean, I don't want to be like I hope it's not a fight like you're predicting, Dave.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope people actually, I think it's just more of an awareness of you have 100-year-old tree. Just think about it. Think about that tree before you cut it down, because all you're going to get is a little 10-foot tree. It's going to take a very long time. So I don't know. That would be my weighing in on the
I think
side.
everyone here agrees that, the awareness it will help the tree resource that we have. But I don't know. I just sense this polarization about this particular subject matter. So we'll see.
Trees should transcend everything.
Well,
Really,
here we are as a group trying to meet to make it all better. So I think
yes, that's good. Okay, well, thanks. Well, I hope you all go on the tour because it really is helpful. And I just was with Mark Olson over on the pathway from 3rd, the wasteland, no man's land. It has lots of awful names. And that the Girl Scout, Zoe, the Eagle Scout, has started planting. And Chris, they need you over there pulling out weeds if that's what you like to do, because my goodness, the vines.
I never, for the record, I never said I like to do that.
It's true.
It is satisfying. It's just
I've done
exhausting.
it a lot, but it's good exercise. It's good
Okay.
exercise, and I
Well,
will.
yeah, I hope you guys get involved with that. So thank you so much.
Bonnie, I saw you sneaking out of the woods yesterday. Actually, I was coaching that baseball game.
Oh yeah, with Mark. I was showing him some other invasives, and we were discussing the invasives, and he was just telling random people that walk by about Multiflora Rose and the Japanese knotweed he didn't know about, and I was pointing that out.
I have one of those growing in my backyard that I'm doing everything I can to get rid of, and I realize that is a bad one. So Bonnie, should I tell people that I snuck down to the New Jersey forestry nursery and got more white oaks for the town, and I gave you one?
Yeah, well, Dave somehow entrusted me with this. It's in my front yard with a fence around it. I will water it. I have a couple other oaks growing there, my little nursery. And I think that you should figure out where the final place should be, the place of honor. So,
yeah, I agree. And we do need to address that at some point. But yeah, the short story is with that, the Salem white oak seedling that I've been working on for 2 years. I saw that they were taking applications again this year, and I asked them if I could get a second, and they hemmed and hawed about it for a little bit because we already had our distribution as a municipality. And so, but they did say I could come get one. And when I got there, the nice guys that were at the nursery said, like, do you want one? I mean, how about 3? So I got, so now we have, I got 3 of these things in pots in my backyard that I got to figure out where to
well,
and I gave one to Miss Bonnie Torsivia for all her advocacy, and I know that she would take care of it. So
I'll try. I have it with other oaks. They like company, so hopefully they'll all be happy together. But yeah, I hope maybe if this path that leads to Fairhaven Fields, if the invasives are taken out and you open up a nice spot, you could put them all there. And then,
it's kind of in the back of my head. Yeah. That could be I was thrilled to hear that Eagle project, but to everybody's point about the invasives, I want to go take a look at it, because if it's just 5 to 10% of it that's cleared and 90% remains, I would hesitant to put the white oaks in there at this time.
Have to clean it out, but you should all go on it. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. You need to see it with an expert like Ryan, who explains why this is so bad, and then you will start to see it everywhere. You will see it when you drive by every park in every town and you'll say, wow, this is a big problem. We have to deal with it, or we're going to lose every tree. Be surrounded by vines.
Never look at them the same way again, right, Kristen?
It's at Ridge Road, the thing on Saturday, the Ridge Road entrance, if anyone was curious.
Oh, that's helpful. I just emailed you, Christy, the little write-up, but it didn't have the location. So thank you, Chris.
And I apologize, I won't be at that because I'm going to be at the EcoFest in Rumson with Clean Ocean Action doing a tree exhibit with the Lorax beanbag toss and the tree. So I'll be promoting trees anyway.
All right. Any other participation from the public? Thank you.
No.
All right, guys. We covered a lot of ground here. Thank you for your time and attention to these projects. Look for a note from, well, there are obviously a handful of follow-ups, but I do want to try to get an August meeting on the calendar. So look for a note from Christy about what days are good. Thank you, as always, for all your attention and efforts. Is there a motion for adjournment somewhere? Leah, and seconded by Jill. All in favor? Any opposed? Thanks, everyone. Great work. Keep it up. Speak again soon. If we get through July, have a great summer, everyone. We'll reconvene soon enough.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Right.
Night.